I saw a potential candidate this past weekend for Cool Guy of the Week. Okay. Now, I went to the zoo with my girlfriend.
Real life person.
And yeah, real life person that I saw just in passing. I was at the zoo with my girlfriend and another couple, and we were just hanging out, walking around. And this was right as we arrived. So we were walking towards the penguin exhibit or whatever, where we were supposed to meet him. And at the entrance to the St. Louis Zoo, there's a bunch of little, you can get your caricature or you can get your face painted for kids. Like, I want to be a lizard or whatever. And I was walking by the caricature booth, and there's this guy sitting there doing the caricature. And there's a girl sitting there, a young girl, maybe like 6 to 8 years old, very young and very fat. And I can see what he is drawing. And he drew a straight up pig snout and pig ears on this girl. And I was halfway tempted to be like, babe, can we stick around so we can see the reaction here? Because there's this smiling little fat girl, and he's got a big pig nose on her and pig ears. And that guy, I wish I could have stopped him and shook his hand. That is so fucking funny. A little dose of reality.
Yeah, if she doesn't want to buy that.
If she doesn't want this, can you hold it for me? It's like,
that's just terrible.
So I had to poop in a Walmart like 2 months ago. I was like, or I guess not even that long ago, but I was buying shit for my house.
Which aisle did you choose?
Sporting goods. Yeah, just right in there.
Yeah, nice.
No, I had to poop at Walmart. So I was around getting a bunch of stuff, and I was about to start the shopping trip, and I'm like, I'm going to be rushing through stuff if I have to poop this whole time, and I'm going to forget something. I'm just going to go shit in this Walmart. And at the time I was going into the bathroom at Walmart, like, I guess the shift was changing. And so there were tons of Walmart employees like changing and around in there. And I've made clear before, I'm not one of those hold back shitters that, like, when you walk into the bathroom and there's a guy in a stall and you sit in the one next to him and you're like, this guy's trying to hold his shit until I leave. Like, what are you doing? Like, I had some bad gas, and when you're in the shower, and Kyle, you sing in the shower, when you hit that note and it resonates off the walls. I had 3 or 4 farts that hit that Walmart bathroom resonation thing to where it was like the whole place felt like there was the Titanic's foghorn going off in there. And
that's actually the theme song of Walmart.
That's what it is. Yeah, so I had a big loud shit in there. That guy, he was out alphaed by my shitting, and so he got up without any more poop noises from there, and I'm like, I've won this little pooping duel. I have a really good record in pooping duels. Even if the other person doesn't know that we're dueling, I know.
And afterward, because there's a ton of Walmart employees in there, like, when you got out of there, were you just like, what's up? Like, were you confident about it? Or were you like, I got to go shop in Target now?
Oh, no, I just walked out and kept walking. Like, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
I don't give a shit. Like, they're not paying attention. They don't care. And if they do, what are they going to do? Not ring me up? I don't fucking care. I'm not your friend.
I'm just making sure. Some people are very self-conscious about this kind of stuff.
I don't know why people are. Like, it's a bathroom. That's what it's for. Make a full evacuation and get out.
Yeah, but there are people who are self-conscious about everything. Like, there are people who, they mispronounce a word or something, and they're like, I can't look this person in the face again. I'm like, the Walmart employee?
One of my friends in high school used to do this thing where, like, he knew about, like, the quiet shitters, and so he would tell me, and I never started doing this. It was fucking hilarious. I don't know why I did, but he would like get up when he was done peeing. If he knew someone was in there, like, doing the quiet poop, he'd wash his hands, and then he'd go to the door and he'd go and just let it go and let it close and stand there silently. And he's like, and almost every time I hear him go, oh. And then I'll go, I heard you, and then he'd leave. That made me laugh. I can't believe I had to talk about that. Gotcha! I gotcha! Yeah. You were pooping in the toilet.
Like a dick.
You animal. Like a loser would. Yeah. I saw something really interesting today that, like, I'd never seen before. I was getting gas at a gas station where I'd get most of my gas, and I was filling up.
I had to process that. Sorry, Taylor. So you get your gas at what kind of store?
I don't know why I included the details. So I was getting gas. There was this woman with Down syndrome in front of me with putting gas in a car. And I was like, huh, that's really nice of whoever's driving to let her like feel part of the gang, like getting this going. I bet she's in there buying a soda or whatever, like, or he or whoever, like this person's
Guardian.
guardian is. And so I was like, all right. And I walk in to get myself my Diet Pepsi, and I'm like, oh, nobody in here. That's weird. And so I got my Pepsi and I walked back out, and I pull my gas thing out, and I see her. She'd already taken hers out. She's a couple steps ahead of me, and I was like, what's she doing? And then she got in the front of the car and drove away. And I was like, is this allowed?
Yeah.
Retarded people allowed to drive? I was like, this can't possibly be cool. Like, what? I mean, she didn't get in an accident from what I could tell, but
Immediately.
It is.
Like,
Immediately careen
So,
into
let me-
anything.
I looked aside and what? Really? It's like interesting. I had no idea they were allowed to drive.
They totally are. They have to pass the same driver's test, written and driven like anyone else. And if they pass it, they get a license. And the other thing about Down syndrome that isn't widely known is you can't look at them and see how severe their Down syndrome is. There's a medium, and I think it's called mosaic Down syndrome, where some people look like they have Down syndrome, but they barely have it. And then the opposite is true too, where some people look pretty much like everybody else. They don't have that characteristic Down syndrome vibe about them, but they actually have Down syndrome.
Yeah, who's that comedian who did the bit where he's like, there's nothing worse than going up to ask what looks like a normal dude directions, and then you're like, hey, do you know how to get to IHOP from here? And he turns around, he's like, oh, do you want to do it? And then you're like, what are you doing walking around looking normal? Get out of here. Like,
That's so mean. I don't like that.
Bad cake.
I remember who that comedian
And I go.
But yeah, I had no idea that people with Down syndrome could drive. I knew I'd never heard that term mosaic, but I knew that there was a spectrum of it, but I didn't know that any spectrum part was like so not impaired that you were allowed to drive.
Just a touch of the Downs.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like I've seen. There was a guy who did a TV show. He was an actor, and it centered around him. I think he was the star of his own like TV show. He had Down syndrome, and I thought Kyle would know the actor's name immediately because sometimes he does. But that guy must have been memorizing lines and running a show and doing stuff that's a lot tougher than driving.
Yeah.
Running a show is maybe not the thing, but
The show was called Downtown.
was it?
Was it really?
No, it wasn't. All right, I'm too gullible. I've got my own disabilities.
23's company.
You guys are bad. Well, I looked up Down syndrome TV show, and the first thing it says is it's about keeping up with the Kardashians.
That's funny.
It's called Life Goes On, I think. And the guy's name was Corky, and the actor's name was Chris Burke. But yeah, that guy, like, I don't know. He was the star of the show. He had a lot of lines. So, mosaic.
Yeah, there was a movie that specifically had like, The Ringer, when Johnny Knoxville basically pretends like he's retarded to win the Special Olympics, and he ends up befriending all of these people who are on the retarded, and like they're played by actors who are clearly retarded, but they're fine. And I feel like they're what you described, Woody. They just got a touch of the Downs, and they know their lines. They're funny. Their timing is good. It's
Because one of the guys in that movie has actual Down syndrome, and he has the look that he looks like he'd be severely impaired, but it was what he described that he clearly doesn't. Because he's in some old, that same dude is in some old like Jackass and Wild Boys clips where they like in the like Jackass 2.5 or whatever, where like they do stuff with him there, and he's clearly like impaired, but he's like cracking jokes like with them. Yeah. So.
You might not want him to be a crane operator, but he can come up with a good joke and he can act. You know,
ready. I'm just there's a friend of mine, more of an acquaintance really, that I was in high school with, and he, everybody showered after every single sport because you get sweaty and you got classes and shit. You don't want to be that gross guy who all the girls are talking about smelling like BO, and so everybody would shower. And there's an unavoidable thing when you shower. Kyle knows this from his prison days that you have to angle yourself toward the crowd of people because it's just a big chamber with a bunch of spigots, and you wash your hair like that, like you don't turn away. You gotta have your eyes all over. I guess you had a little more privacy than that. So there was this kid Joe that would just walk up to people, and this was not like one or two times. It made him laugh so hard. to just wait until somebody turned around and was washing their hair like that, and he would run over behind him. This kid's like 5'1", little fatty, and he would go over there and he would start pissing on the back of people's like calves and thighs as he walked down. And like by the time they turn around, they're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And he just run away. He's a little goblin of a guy. He'd be like,
I'm gonna tell you right now. And I bet Woody agrees with me.
Shout out to Joe from the shower.
That's what we call an ass whooping.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm thinking, if this happens to me, how am I supposed to react to this guy, right? Because I like, to be honest, I'm like a 3 out of 10 mad at that. I don't care that much if he's peeing on the below the ankle while I'm in the shower. On the other hand, I feel somewhat obligated to respond.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? It's not the act. It's the implied indignation.
Yeah.
It's that everyone knows that you just urinated on me. I feel like I have to do something to reclaim some level of dignity.
Yeah, he wasn't retarded. So basically what he would do is...
Wait, are we talking about retardedness? Or are we talking about like a silly guy?
He's saying
I'm saying he wasn't retarded. He wasn't being dumb.
That's an ass whooping.
He was my age. Like I guess we were like, if we were seniors at the time, whatever. And he was much, much smaller than even a lot of the freshmen. But he wasn't going up to me or other seniors. He was going up to vulnerable freshmen or sophomores, and then he would revel in the laughs of the larger people. It was a bit of P. It's not as funny looking back.
Yeah, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. Like, imagine this, right?
If any consolation, his life is not going great.
And I think I know his kink. But if I was in the shower and someone hawked up a loogie and spat it in the center of my chest, I'm in the shower. It's comparable to the other offense. It's like a 3 out of 10. But I feel like
it's the disrespect.
I'm not okay with someone treating me like that. I feel obligated to equalize our relationship again.
Beat the shit out of him naked?
Yeah.
No, I'm more of a wrestler.
No,
but yeah.
No, I'm gonna wait until. No, see, that's the thing. I'm gonna pretend like I don't care, and I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna rinse off, and I'm gonna go get dressed, and you're gonna come out naked, and I'm gonna beat the fucking shit out of you. I'm gonna sucker punch you right away. You're not gonna know it's coming. Yeah. There's not gonna be a whole like, hey, you did this to me, and let's shove each other 3 times each, and then let's point. No. I'm immediately going to deck you. I'm going to hit you as hard as I fucking can right here and try to knock you unconscious. And then I'm going to kick you a lot. And as I kick you, I'm going to explain to the people who are watching why I just did all of this.
You're not going to have that much time in the way ours was structured, because we had our PE coach who was always meat gazing. He would have been on you like white on rice.
He was
right
a meat
away.
gazer?
He was a big time meat gazer.
Oh, I don't like that.
Just pop right in and like look at dick height, be like, boys, 3rd hour starting soon, and be like, coach,
I'll tell you what,
stop looking at my dick. How about that?
There was no meat gazing in prison.
No. Well, this guy did not know prison rules. He just knew I got unlimited access to teenage cock.
Back when I was 2, I was a kid on a leash. I'm sure I've mentioned that before. I was a leash kid in the mall.
I didn't. Did you say that before? You had the leash.
I may have mentioned it. I wasn't a regular leash kid. I was like a misbehaved one too many times, like a dog in the park, and so then I had to be taken to the mall a couple times on a leash just to reestablish those boundaries, and then you get taken off the leash again. But it was just a wrist leash, because I guess my mom didn't want to go whole hog into the leash thing, because a lot of them were like basically a harness where you could be like, get back here, and the whole kid just, because you're just a child. But like what I would do, and my mom tells me it better than I do, obviously, but I'd let some slack form in the line while she was at, like, I don't know, White House Black Market or whatever fucking stupid store she dragged me to, and I just let some slack in, and she said she'd turn around and there'd just be a wrist cuff laying on the floor at the mall, and I would have ran off, and I didn't like cause mischief or anything at the time. What I liked playing hide and go seek, and in the middle of those big things of clothes, you know how there's, I don't know, 600 of those in a Macy's, and there's like 5 stores like Macy's in every mall. It was just I wouldn't listen to the announcers at the mall where they'd be like, well, Taylor, please come to KB Toys. Will you come to KB Toys? We know you want a toy. But I grew out of that phase. I don't run away from people at the mall anymore.
I love you still hide in the clothes racks.
Still hide in the clothes as an adult man. Just
in a clown costume.
I said I was on a trip this past weekend for a few days with my dad and my brothers going skiing. And, you know, I know, Kyle, you don't have a younger brother. Woody, you have a brother, but
Older,
he's not an older brother. So it's a little different. But you always think of the stupid shit that you did and the silly shit that you did, and you never fully think about your siblings doing that. And we were talking about just like dumb shit that we did in high school or whatnot. And my brother was like, "Oh yeah, we used to do something called dippity dippity dumps." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, when me and some of my friends in a group text wanted to take a break from class, we'd text dippity dippity dump ? And then all three of us would go to the bathroom, get in a stall, pass chaw to each other, and then dip while we dumped for like 20 minutes and just chat in the bathroom."
Wait, are they sharing a stall in this scenario?
No, they're sharing a can of dip.
No, but you said get in the stall and dip while they dump. I think I'm exactly quoting you.
So it's 3 stalls, and they're all in the 3 stalls handing their dip to each other.
So get in a
they
stall
can
has more than one
dippity-dump.
meaning, right?
Yeah, and I
if
was
they
like,
all got into a stall, I'm like, all right, that's a tight fit, but okay. And then you said, and then they take a dump and I'm like, wow, this is a close bunch of friends.
Scoot over.
Not quite that close. But I was just asking him, like, but why?
Fitting the third
But
man
why
onto that
would you
toilet.
do this thing?
A bit of expertise.
I was like, why? What would you say when you would do these 30-minute bathroom breaks all the time? Like, you just show back up and they didn't care? And he was like, yeah, as long as you just say kind of loud if the teacher asks anything that you had diarrhea. No, they never ask a follow-up. And I was like, first of all, I'm proud of you for having the confidence to say loudly in the room, where were you for the last 20 minutes? I had diarrhea. Again? Again? What do you eat? I'm on the Kyle Myers diet. But I had like the most perfect like little thing happen. Like this past weekend, I was hanging out with some friends and a couple of girls at a bar, and it was getting late, and I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna head home. And so I was heading home, walking back to my place, and I passed this homeless guy. He was like, sir, I ain't asking you for money. I just want some food, man. I'm so hungry. And I was like, you know what? Let's get some food, man. And so I started walking with this homeless guy. We were chatting. And I took him to a corner place and just like told him, get whatever you want. You want a couple sandwiches or chips or, a hot meal, whatever. And so I just let him pick it out. They started making it. I bought it for him. And as I was leaving with him, he had his shit. And he was like being all thankful, like thanking me, being super nice, like kind of following me back towards where I was going. Like I was being very polite. We passed some of the girls that I was hanging out with earlier that night just by random chance. And it made me look like the best Samaritan ever. Because here I am with food that I bought for this homeless guy after I was like, God, I'm getting tired. I got to go home and go to bed just like 20 minutes before. And they're like, oh my God, did you buy that guy like some food or something? I never do that.
Happen? Or can we tie this back to the previous conversation where they're not really thinking about you?
No, this happened. This actually happened.
The second part, though, they did notice. Okay.
They did notice because like they were like, I was walking by with and it worked even better because I didn't notice them standing on the sidewalk. I got like 2 feet past them with Mr. Black, now hunger satiated homeless guy. And Rufus. They go, yeah, Rufus, DJ, was his name. Oh. And they're like, Taylor, are you? And then we had a little talk again, and there you go. I looked fucking great. Like, I'm gonna start doing nice things so much more on the off chance that it gets me laid. Like it's
just fake nice things to do, like have someone cosplay as a homeless man.
I'm gonna hire DJ.
Maybe you hire DJ. Here's what DJ can do for you. You hire DJ to come in and accost some woman, like get all crazy in her face, like, give me $1, give me $1.
You're gonna die tonight, bitch.
and then you swoop in like, hey, get out of here, you leave her alone, or I'll kick your ass.
Marty McFly in this scenario?
Yeah, exactly. You and Rufus could have a real nice thing going on. Rufus gets all the hot sandwiches he wants, and you get all the hot pussy you want. He probably lives down there on the street under your window somewhere. You could just be like up in your window, like, Rufus, the blonde. And while he's accosting her, you're running down the stairs to go like save the day. dude.
Oh
You know,
man, I could hire a whole mini cabal
No.
of the homeless, and because I don't
Is
want to use
Rufus
the same guy
intimidating
over and
looking?
over. His name's not fucking Rufus. Because
It
it's
is
DJ.
DJ. It's
I don't
DJ.
know, Rufus.
And okay, well, Rufus is
Thank
like 6'3", and he, to be fair to Rufus, he was definitely a heavy enough guy that this probably wasn't the first sandwich he'd had that day.
Oh, this
But-
is perfect. A guy who even bigger than you, and you come in like, hey, you leave her alone. Get out of here, you. I'll kick your ass. And, dude, you and Rufus could have the greatest symbiotic relationship of all time. Like he just gets. I would make this happen. I'd be like, yo, Rufus, would you accost pretty white women for me? And I'll come in and
Right
run
now
you
on the
off,
Russian
and I'll give you
investigation.
$20 a day. How about
I'm
it?
doing it without you. May as well.
I've been accosting pretty white women for years now. Ain't never got a sandwich out of it.
You just go all over the top fucking racist with your sandwich and your shucking and jive, hand motions. Oh, that's funny.
You guys do some sort of like, it'd be some kind of weird handshake that like white people aren't good at. There'd be some wiggly fingers and some waves and like two slaps, like that thing.
Two
And then
slaps.
it'd be like pop, pop, and then there'd be a finger snap at the end.
Like, Rufus, we can't do this fucking 28-second handshake after every accosting. There are people are catching on. We're working together. Bada bing, boom,
I
bop,
fucking
bop.
love this idea.
Yep.
I bet if you ran this by Rufus, like, all right, Rufus, don't do anything illegal, but accost him a little bit, like angrily ask him for $1, and then I'm gonna swoop in, I'm gonna run you off, and meet me by the door later. I'll slip you.
There's
$20.
gonna be a hot Qdoba burrito right behind that tree, 20 yards there. So when I come over there, I go, "Get out of here, Rufus! Stop bothering this sexy lady with her big, pouty blowjob lips." And then you run over there and you grab your hot burrito and you go, until next time.
Yeah.
Okay, this is happening. I need to find Rufus.
I fucking love this idea. You get so much ass like this,
I
like
call him Rufus, and then he's gonna beat my ass.
no, dude. You can call him fucking Mr. Bojangles. He's getting like a
I was
Qdoba
joking.
burrito.
He's a very, very sweet homeless guy from our one encounter together.
Yeah, they're all sweet until you start giving them Qdoba. Then they'll do whatever you want.
Yeah. This is
You could be like, Rufus, just beat her to death if she doesn't, and the ones who don't like respond to your, if you come and save the day and they're like, thanks, and just walk away, you'd be like, get her, Rufus. like she wasn't convinced enough. Like, get Rufus to go over there and start whipping her ass a little bit, and then you come in, then maybe she's a little more grateful. Like, you escalate. You escalate things.
maybe he injures her just a little, just that much, just enough to need to have to come back to my place for a little bit of very poorly administered medical care. Like I'll just put a little bit of Neosporin on whatever it is, and
there
then
you go.
just start making your move.
I like it.
Hope you don't have any other infections. Yeah.
Like you maybe you buy him some steel toe boots with the implication that he kicks women in the knee with them.
Okay.
She's all limpy.
Well,
you need to help her along.
I don't want to take him to the hospital though. How about just
Not him. You're gonna take her
because
to your place, and then you nurse her back to health.
You take me to the hospital. My leg's broken. That homeless guy kicked me.
And you can be like, that she's dependent upon you, right? Right?
Ooh. I'm nurturing that dependence because she knows if she goes back outside, Rufus is there with half a burrito in his hand.
Step one, demonstrate value, right?
Yeah, if she tries to leave, you look out the window, give Rufus the old wink, and then he starts screaming and yelling up at the window, and she's like, "Oh, maybe I'll stay here for a while." Yeah, I'll walk you home in a couple hours, but I gotta work on my my medical thesis. So let me get back in here. By the way, let me bandage that up for you. You pretend like you're a medical student in this terrible scenario. That would be even better. See, that's how you get her back upstairs. Oh, I'm a medical student. I've got my bag upstairs. I could take a look at that knee for you that Rufus kicked with those. Those look like new steel toe boots to you? Yeah, he must have stolen them off somebody. Big violent guy. Yeah, I've seen him in the neighborhood. That's Rufus, the kneecapper. They call
Rufus the kneecap.
Yeah, he's crazy. They won't do anything.
I mean, horrible guy.
Yeah, he loves Qdoba. Yeah,
loves it. That's how I get my way through.
Burrito bowls. That's
What other fun things could I do with the local homeless? Because there are aplenty. What else could be done?
I would like to start a homeless doo-wop group. Like get them all like doing that thing where they. For the longest time, looking in her eye. Ooh, and then Rufus jumps in. Ooh, and when I find you, I will be right behind you. And then they all sing as a chorus. I haven't been there for the longest time. And then they're just down by the window. You could serenade ladies with your.
The longest for the longest time.
Yeah, Rufus was in that low note for you.
Okay. No. No, I'm not going to do that one. Who is honestly buying that big homeless man a brand new pair of steel-toed boots is going to be a better idea than trying to teach him to sing. 'Cause I don't know how to sing, and I can't imagine that that's going to scare any ladies into my arms. You know, unless it's like really late at night and she's walking down an alley alone and she just hears the whoa, and then she looks around and it's four large homeless gentlemen. You know,
they're all snapping their fingers in chorus and like walking. Maybe if you got them to do what's the Michael Jackson Thriller? Da, da. Oh, that would be great because homeless people look so decrepit and stuff. If they were doing the Thriller, like while the music,
I can get some of the more like methy looking ones for that.
Oh, do you have methy looking ones?
Oh, I'm in Missouri. Yes.
Of course, the Missouri capital of the Midwest. I mean, the meth capital of the Midwest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. I wish I had homeless to use here.
You can come by anytime and borrow mine. There's so many of these fuckers.
Yeah,
you gotta get them in line for me.
We've got them in Raleigh. While saying something.
This reminded me of a haircut. Did you guys ever get your hair cut by your mom when you were growing up?
Yes.
So I had to do that a couple times, and usually it was just a bloodbath. I looked like a real asshole. Like, you have to get a really bad haircut for someone in 3rd grade up here to say something's wrong with your hair. But that's achievable when like you cut it this high, and it's like that's not a natural end for hair on the back of a child's head.
You look like a goddamn alien.
Yeah, you look like you're wearing a baseball cap of hair without the bill. Like, that's the amount of head space it's covering. But one time my mom actually nailed it. Yeah, one time my mom got me pretty good with a decent haircut, and I went to school. The guy across the street drove me to school because he was much older, and he's like, "Oh, you're looking pretty sharp there." And I was like 8, so I'm like, "Thanks, man." And went to school, came back, and I told my mom. My mom was like, "Oh, they thought your hair looked nice, didn't they?" And they were our neighbors, and so my mom invited the 3 of them, who were all like, they're probably all like in their late 30s now. They're much older than me, and they came over to get haircuts for my mom because my mom was like, I'm really figuring it out with Taylor. Like, I'll give it to you for free. And she gave the first guy a haircut. Really not great. I'm standing there in the garage watching because I'm 8 and have nothing to do. The second guy, it's a slight bit better, you know, so maybe the 3rd guy got a little bit of confidence. And then my mom just like started to feel like she was the queen of a salon, just like boom, 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 yeah, like going so quick. And she caught that ridge on the back of where your ear is with some clippers on the 3rd guy, and I swear to God, I didn't know this area could bleed so much. Like, she like raked it with the clippers without a guard on it and just punctured the back of the ear. And this I guess at the time, like 16-year-old kid just had blood pouring down the back of his neck in the middle of our garage. And she didn't cut my hair anymore after that, so it was a net win.
It's a good thing. You might be one-eared Taylor.
I might be. Yeah, that'd be even more comfortable. Make my head look smaller. So, did I ever tell you when we ruined Joel Quenneville, the current coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, yard? Okay, so when I was much younger, so Joel Quenneville used to be the coach of the St. Louis Blues.
Prosecuted for this?
Oh no. No.
Okay.
So
Joe
Quenneville at the time was the coach of the St. Louis Blues, the professional hockey team here, and we knew him from the rink because we played hockey, and hockey's just a community that you get to know everyone. And so one day we were driving his son back to his house because my mom knew his mom and whatnot, and they were friends. And so we drive to Joel Quenneville's gigantic palatial mansion, just beautiful, beautiful home in one of the most expensive areas to live here. My mom pulls up into the long, long driveway, like a Woody-style driveway, and drops the kid off, starts to back up, and within, 4 feet into this 100-yard backup, I feel the van go through, like, and we're in the yard, and I'm like, Mom, we're in Joel Quenneville's yard. You need to get back onto the driveway. She's like, it's fine, Taylor, it's fine. You don't need to worry about it. This just happens. Sometimes adults don't hit the driveway and they back up, and she backed up 100 yards pretty much, and it was wet.
you know, it's humid and it rains a lot here, so every once in a while you have to give a little extra gas, you know, into the yard. And when we got out, I looked back fucking mortified because obviously I'm a huge Blues fan, and I just like I'm talking to this guy all the time, like, oh, you know, like, what are you doing with fucking Chris Pronger now? Like, oh, this is so sweet. And I just look up as we drive away, and there's a huge, basically a straight moat all the way, the length of their driveway, and we just drive away as my mom's like, it's fine, they won't even notice it. And I just was like, oh my God. And I told my dad when we got home, and he's like, your mother did what? She ruined Joe Quinville's yard. Oh, Jesus Christ. And he had to do damage control, but that was so humiliating. I didn't even do it. But I don't know, that reminded me. You're fucking careful.
So here's the rule at our house when we had kids like that. We would do timeouts if they were like openly bad. I know that kid might be too young, I forget. But and then the length of a timeout is generally about a minute for every year old they are. You know, and that's about what they can take if they're actively being defiant or bad. That's how
really? That's like a parent rule? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we read it on the internet. It must be right. So, but we just rolled with it for a long time. You know, a minute for every. If they're 4 years old, they might get 4 minutes of timeout.
My parents didn't put me in timeout much because I would peel the wallpaper off of every corner they put me in. And that solved the problem.
That's awesome.
They'd put me in there and they'd be like, Taylor, you just beat your brother up. You sit there for 5 minutes. They come back and it's ruined. Like a whole square meter of the fucking wall's ruined. Like, God damn it, Taylor.
Taylor's like, they put me in a corner once. I tunneled out.
Yeah.
I didn't really have to.
You know, my mom will be like, I listen to the show sometimes. It's fun. It's very dirty. And it's like, I know, Mom, it's not meant for you. It's all right.
I got to show this earlier in the show. Not that it's a big deal or matters. My mom this year bought me a Christmas present and was like, she told me, she's like, oh, this is going to be so funny, Taylor. I saw it. It was a joke from the podcast that you do. They all say that you look like an owl. And so I bought you this owl with
What is in it? Money? Rocks?
No, potpourri. Like it smells really good, so I do like it. I like smell good stuff, and it's just an owl with a bunch of potpourri in it that I'm.
When my parents were still together, I was in like early high school, and my parents and me and my younger brother, we were out to eat, and my younger brother and my dad made some joke together making fun of my mom, as was oft to occur, and my dad kind of just held up his like fist for a fist bump with my brother, just kind of being like, aha, we showed that dumb lady who is your mom and my wife. And he held his fist up, and my brother just didn't acknowledge it or anything. Didn't want to, give him the fist bump, kind of give him the rolling eyes of a kid who would want to be associated with his parent. And my mom was just looking at my brother like, why are you being so rude? Put up your hand and fist your father. Fist your father? Why are you laughing, Taylor? You think it's okay for your brother not to fist your father right now in this restaurant after
That's great.
You're laughing about this joke? It was so uncomfortable. But I love it when...
Your mom was kind of right, though. That's pretty lame of your brother.
Well, yeah. It's just not that much to ask. Throw people high fives, throw them the fist bump.
Yeah.
It's a real shit move to leave people hanging.
Oh, the mom smoking story. Yeah, that was like, I was in college. I was in college at the time, and I came back from break. It was in between, I think it was earlier on in college also. And it was in between, obviously summer break, and I went back, and I was hanging out with my mom. We were in her house at the time. We were both just kind of sitting in the living room. And it came up, I don't even know how it came up, that she was like, I haven't smoked weed since I was like in college. I wonder if I would like that. I don't remember whether I liked it or disliked it back in the day. And I was like, that's so funny, because do you want to? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. It's just me and her. And so we do, and we're sitting there just kind of hanging out on the couch, something, afterward, obviously, watching something on TV, and she is just stone silent, and I, like, get up, and I start making a sandwich, and I make probably another sandwich after that, and probably a third sandwich, and I'm walking around, and a friend of mine called, and I was talking to him about, like, oh, yeah, that would be fun, we should watch the Blues game at Steve's house or whatever, and she, like, afterward was like, like after I got the phone, you know, it'd only been like 20 minutes. She's like, how long ago, or how long has it been? And I'm like, maybe 20 minutes, 30 at most. She's like, oh my God, how are you doing that? You're just like standing up and walking around, and like you just made a sandwich and you talked to someone on the phone. I can't do any of that right now. I can't do anything. Don't invite your friends over here. I can't do anything right now. I just have to be here on the couch for now. You know, so it was very funny. I was like, it's fine. It's good. You're going to be good to go. You're going to be good in just a little while. And she was like, no, she wasn't like freaking out or anything. She was just like, I can't do anything. I have to be static. I need to stay here and lock on this TV until I feel normal. It was very super fun and wholesome. Super fun and wholesome. My God, that was probably almost 10 years ago now. Almost 10 years ago now. Time fucking flies, man. It does. Time flies.
Get a peek there?
No, it does.
You gel your brows?
No,
There's a hint.
Totally static. Very static eyebrow. It's this one that's just a fucking shit show. I had a kid when I was in 3rd grade. His name was Joe. A kid in 3rd grade. He came up to me with scissors, and when I was there in art, he just snipped the top of my eyebrow off. Just walked up and cut the top of my eyebrow off and said, I don't like the way your eyebrow is.
I'm doing you a favor, Taylor.
That was the first time in my whole life I realized there was anything weird about it. That it grew up this way. When this kid walked up to me and just, I don't like the way your eyebrow is, with that 3rd grade honesty of, I don't understand subtext or, you know, or implying things.
And those rounded tip 3rd grade scissors that don't cut.
Yeah, safety scissors.
Oh yeah, I'm lucky it was a clean sweep. It could have been a, you know, kid-safe gnawing fest across my forehead.
Did he literally cut it? Like, was there a difference? Do you remember?
Yeah, he cut this time. He didn't do a very good job.
I was gonna say he sounds like a scissor ninja.
No, but he didn't get it all off. He snipped the top part. I also had a high school girlfriend who, when we were, you know, hanging out one time.
Wait, what do you mean by hanging out?
Hanging out.
Yeah, was it hanging out?
You took a while to throw that one out.
Doing things that Christ wouldn't approve of before certain vows were taken.
Okay.
And she just was like, just let me snip it. Just let me snip it. I want to snip it. I just want to see. I just want to see. Like, and so she cut it, and as soon as she did it, she was like, oh, I took too much off. And so then I had to go to the bathroom and look in the mirror, and I looked like a goddamn lunatic with a geometry fucking Tetris eyebrow that didn't fit at all. I couldn't just shave it off because you had to shave both off. It was not ideal. So those are the only 2 stories of someone trying to correct my eyebrow.
Is it like that because you were born that way, or did you get into an accident or something?
No, it was just, you know, luck of the draw. So
He's just a mutant. He's just a mutant.
Okay, fair enough.
When I was in,
Dude, it takes so long for these things to grow back.
it was the summer before.
He was really fat and really weird. He was a year under me, I think. Maybe he was in my grade and I just didn't realize. A year under me, I think. And during like lunchtime, he would obviously wolf all his food down within the first 3 to 4 minutes, and then he'd have 25 minutes left of lunch to do stuff. And so he would like go like in the side of the lunchroom where it was like just not many tables being used or anything, and so he wasn't in the way, and he would do like slow motion like karate by himself over there. And just let me paint the picture of this guy. He's about 5'8", no exaggeration, 2,000 pounds.
None.
And he would wear, doesn't matter if it's, you know, early April and it's hot as balls outside, he'd wear a big black trench coat, black baggy pants, like those emo kind of pants with chains on them, or maybe goth is better than emo, and then like some sort of Invader Zim t-shirt and fingerless black gloves with also Invader Zim on it. And he would do fake karate by himself over there and do like all this like weird little maneuvers, and always slow motion. And not always, every once in a while he'd bust into a combo, bah, 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 and do that kind of thing, shadow box. And this more southern kid who went to our school once was just like, he wasn't there for long, but the first year he was there, that kid was like doing his fucking thing, and he was sitting and talking to us. He's like, the fuck is that kid doing? We're like, he just pretends to be a karate man. Just ignore him. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna go ask him. And so he went over there, and we're like, all right, I got to follow Josh over here to see what he does. And he's like, what are you doing over here every day doing karate by yourself? And the kid just is like, immediately clams up, gets embarrassed, shuts down. I don't even remember what he said to respond. I felt bad for him.
Did your friend go over like to mock him? Was he aggressive? Or was he just genuinely curious?
Hey, weirdo!
Yeah.
Hey, goofball! What the fuck are you doing over here?
What was the vibe that he brought to the question?
The vibe was a mix of trying to get an answer and mocking, in a way. And if the kid had like come back with like I'm practicing to be a soldier for when XYZ happens, or I just love Invader Zim or something, like I would have been like, okay, this kid's just weird. But he like immediately clammed up and was so meek about it that I was like, oh, let's just let the kid do his karate.
Yeah.
And that's all that happened.
We
never bothered him again.
And so every day we trained for months. Every day. Even now, every afternoon at lunch, we all meet up down at the park and we do our kata. Because someday the Overlord will come down and we must be prepared for
him. At some point, that kid snapped by being bullied by some kid in his own grade, and they got into a fight. I didn't see it though. It was just something that got spread around the school. It was like during their gym period.
Yeah.
And they both got suspended.
That's not the question. Who won?
Oh, I think the way it was described to me, and it was so long ago, it's hard to remember. What I think it was is that the skinnier kid,
like 8 years ago,
was getting the upper edge on him, and then the fat kid tackled him, and threw all his training out the window, went straight for a tackle.
That's the problem. He's been training striking alone for so long.
His ground game was shit, and then of course the teacher comes over and breaks it up.
Yeah, see, I wanted to hear. He had been training every day at lunch, and we mocked him until the day the school shooter came. And Lenny the Stinker walked up to him and used the 5-finger palm heart exploding technique on him. And the man just dropped dead. Just dropped dead and just killed him. And we all
saw the
cheered.
last 4 beats of the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about you guys before the show that I'd never talked about, and I've got plenty of stories from this job, but I'd never talked about this rental car company that I worked for, like right out of college. And because it turns out that when you graduate, this was like 7 years ago, 2013, when a lot of this happened, 2013, 14 mostly. And I worked at a rental car company, and it doesn't really matter what company it is. It's the kind where you have to dress up like you're going to a bar mitzvah, and really you just look like a retard renting cars in a suit, which sucks. And it's the kind where you have to pick someone up. And so I started working at this company, and one of the first things they do is they're like, and I'm right out of college, so I'm ready to be like, all right, I'm not going to make much money. I'm barely going to make any money. This is going to suck. I'm going to be working so much for this job, and I'm barely going to be bringing home anything, but whatever. You got to start somewhere. And so I started working for this company. They sent me down to their like main city where they train all the new people, and they give you a roommate in these situations, and they pair you up with a random guy. I was 22 at the time, I think, just turned 22. This guy was like 26, 27, Mormon, already had 3 kids. And there's an old adage. When I lived in Idaho, I learned a lot of Mormon adages. And one of them about Mormons is never go fishing with one Mormon because they'll drink all your beer. Always bring a second Mormon so that they won't drink in front of each other. And so I'm like trying to get ready for my first job and training and stuff. And I'm like, man, I had no perspective. I'm just worried about not getting something right. And so we get in there that night. I'm like ready to buckle down and study the little book and everything. I'm in the room, and he comes in and he's like, hey, you're Taylor, right? And I'm like, yeah, you must be Andy. He's like, yeah, real nice to meet you, man. Real nice to meet you. So where are you from? We have this little talk, and he's like, yeah. So what do you want to do tonight? I was like, we're on a work thing. It was my first ever work trip. And I was like, I assume you do work all the time on these. I'm trying to learn so I don't look like a fool tomorrow. And he's like, nah, I'm sure we'll be fine. Listen, you want to like go to a bar or something? And I was like, Not particularly. It's already like 9 p.m. and he's like, "How about we do? There's a liquor store across the street. Let's go to the liquor store and we'll get a couple things." I was like, "All right, I'll have a few beers tonight." And so I go over to the liquor store with him. I grab a 6-pack and I'm just waiting at the front for like 5-6 minutes, which is a long time to wait, standing there with a guy you don't know. And eventually I'm like, where the fuck is this motherfucker? And I start walking around and he is like picking up every bottle of liquor, like fascinated with it. Like, oh my God, like the forbidden fruit for this guy. He loads up a mini cart with, we're there for 4 nights and he has enough booze for us to go on a 3-week bender. Both. He has no idea how much this. He loads it up and he's coming to the front, all fucking smiles. This guy. He's like, "You got all your stuff?" I'm like, "Got like 1 6-pack of Bud Light." He's like, "All right." So we check everything out, go back to the room. I start like drinking a beer while I'm doing everything. I turn around after maybe 15-20 minutes. He's drank half a bottle of vodka by himself, already blackout drunk. And this guy stayed blackout drunk for the next 4 days. He was showing up to like the work things drunk. He was out of fucking control. We would finish something up. Turns out Mormons get degenerate as shit once they get a little liquor in them. Maybe that's a rule. There was one night he was begging me. He's like, "Come on, man, it's our last night here. Come on, let's go to the hot tub at the hotel." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go to the hot tub." He brings the free glass thing you use to rinse your mouth out next to the sink and a bottle of Jack Daniels that he sets next to the hot tub. And we're sitting there with like 2 other normal people. And I don't even think I brought a beer because it wasn't allowed. And he gets wasted here. And he spends the entire last night and the second to last night vomiting and keeping me awake until like 4 a.m. And it was over and over. And at the end of it, he's like talking to me like we experienced a Hangover 2 style adventure. It's like, "Man, crazy times, right?" And it's like, I haven't been drunk the whole time we've been here. I've had like 3 beers at a time. And he's like, "Nah, dude, we did crazy stuff. Anyway, dude, see you later, bro." Reheard from him because he worked in a different state, different area. He had to go to rehab for alcoholism, which apparently started on that little trip he and I had. So I got to watch the beginning of a flower blossom of addiction. And I actually encouraged it because I thought he'd be able to handle it. So yeah, that guy did it. Another thing about rental car places, do not buy the insurance if you have your own insurance. They're going to try and scare you because they tell the salespeople to scare the shit out of you. And what I discovered working out in Idaho with this, where there's a lot of Hispanic people who, like the first generation, don't speak English, and so they have their kids talk to you. The only people who buy insurance are people who don't need it, and the only people who don't buy insurance are people who do need it. Where like I can't count the number of times I'd be like at a fucking airport location, and some person would come up, like some Mexican lady, and then her very young, like 7-year-old kid, and I'd be like, "Hey, how can I help you, ma'am?" And then the kid would have to say like, "We want a car." And I'd be like, "That's great. Can you tell your mom that I need her license and her credit card?" And she hands me a license and a very dented debit card. And I have to be like, "No, this is a debit. It's a debit card. You need a credit card." She's like, "No, it's credit. I use a credit card." It's like, yeah, you can hit credit when you're buying a Diet Coke at a 7-Eleven, but when you're renting a $75,000 Yukon, we can't run it as that. You have $75 in your account. And like the number of times I didn't try and sell like rich people any insurance. Like I was the fastest at writing the tickets because I'd be like, "You got insurance, brother?" You'd be like, "Yeah." It's like, "You're fucking perfect. Fucking good, dude. Should I buy the insurance?" No. Like, get out of here. I don't get commission for this. Why the fuck would I rip you off? But then when there would be like a Hispanic woman who comes up, I'm like, "Ma'am, please. If you wreck this," Javier, can you tell your mom what I'm saying right now? If you wreck the Yukon, that's an $80,000 car. $8,000 car.
That's not.
Yeah, $80,000 car. So if you wreck this car, you have to pay for the whole thing. The whole car. Javier, you're obviously looking at the vending machines. Javier, your mom, the whole car. See, yeah, whole car. It's like, so if you pay $20 extra a day, if you wreck it, you don't pay anything. But if you wreck it, your life and your children's lives are ruined. just pony up and do it. They would never buy the insurance, and it felt like 10% of the time they'd come back and get absolutely fucked. The people who would buy it were like rich white yuppies who already had fantastic AAA or something and would just drop $20 for no reason a day on it. So never buy that shit. There was so much tomfoolery and nonsense. Always check your contracts from those people because they will sneak shit in order to get sales. Like they will tell you, there was one skeevy motherfucker that I worked with that was the worst about this. The forestry registry came in out of Idaho where I was. Apparently that's where the biggest conglomerate of these firefighters come from. And then they all moved from there down to fight the wildfires in California. And they had set contracts. But because we worked on a DOS system, a DOS prompt system, we could manipulate the contracts. And so there was this one bitch who, Amy, if you're out there, I hope life is going terrible for you. I hope it sucks. I hope you got divorced after you left us. And so, because what she did is they have like sales goals. And if you hit a certain thing, they incentivize us by like, you can just go home. You can go home if you want to do that. This bitch would take $20,000 in sales and apply it to a forest registry contract, and those guys don't give a shit. They'll sign whatever. And so then if I'm returning a car on the return lane and it pulls up that what was supposed to be a $1,200 rental for 2 weeks to the forest registry is actually a $35,000 fee, do you know how upset a group of dirty firefighters get when you tell them they owe $35,000 for that? They get so upset. And then I have to call like the fire commissioner of it and tell him, I'm so sorry. I got to refund $35,000, the cost of a nice fucking Optima that they already paid us. And then I get yelled at. That shit was the fucking worst. That job sucked. Another thing they would fucking do is I worked at the airport many times going all the way to 2 a.m. And you'd be there with the manager and you would run out of cars, just out. And I would have 70 reservations at 1 a.m. by myself, standing at the counter with my little fucking tie like a retard. And I would see hordes of people coming down the escalator to come to the rental place. And I'm just like trying to amp myself up like it's game 7, like, whew, all right, you're going to get yelled at by at least 75 of those people. It's okay. It's okay. Then they all get in line.
75 out of 70.
75 out of 77, they're going to yell at me.
Okay.
Some of them have wives.
Some of them have wives there. None of them, though, because they're getting in. They get in at 2 in the morning. Most of them off of planes that were so delayed. They just want their car, and they just want to go home.
And they have a reservation, but you didn't reserve one.
They have a reservation, and every time, 15 minutes before that plane lands, the manager would go, it seems like you got a good handle of things, Taylor. I'm out. And they would leave. Just to be me there. And they would come in and you talk to the first guy in line and he's like, slaps his fucking credit card and license on the table, not pleased. Boom. Reservation Thompson. We're out of cars, Mr. Thompson. What? I have a reservation. The best you could hope for in that situation is that the guy would say the Seinfeld line and I would go, but like that was the best you could hope. Usually you would get screamed at, berated. They'd ask for your name. They'd like call and complain. I'd have to try and be like, the reason they did this is because they're trying. By the end of my tenure at this company, I was like totally like Stockholm syndrome with the shitty customers. I'd be like, we're all in this together, guys. We're all in this together. I'm so sorry. I hate this as much as you do. I make $30,000 a year to get screamed at. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. And just doing that.
You want to rent my car? I could use the cash.
What you get to do, what you get to do then is I have to like lean over and talk to the Hertz guy and be like, Tom, please, can you get some of these people going? He's like, Taylor, I'm so sorry, dude. We got like 2 cars and I got to save them. And so I would have to stand there until like 4:30 in the morning with every one of these people, calling cab companies to take them where they need to go, then paying for it over the phone with the corporate card. And then after one of the companies runs out of cabs, I have to find a new cab company for all these people. It was the fucking worst job. It sucked. You get yelled at constantly.
I would be so mad.
It was awful. The only good part of that job is that if somebody came in hot and like you could even whiff just the slightest of alcohol, you could shut it down. Nope, not renting to you. You smell like whiskey. You smell like, and it was only a couple times that a person would come in like stumbling drunk and yell at you because you wouldn't rent them the car they wanted. Also, there's a fundamental misunderstanding about how reservations work. You do not reserve the car. You're not reserving anything.
That's how reservations work, though.
No, for everywhere else. Yeah.
That,
rental car companies, they shouldn't call it a reservation. They should call it a consideration.
they should call it a prepayment because that's what it is. They're just you're just signing.
Woody
up.
and I showed up at a hotel once, and they'd given our reservation away.
Oh yeah,
and I think we said, "I don't think you know how a reservation works."
Yeah, I think we did.
know how a reservation works. Do you know how many times I wanted to leap over that counter and strangle someone to death for saying that Seinfeld line for the 100th time that day? And it was infuriating because the fucking
Why didn't you put a sign up that said all out of cars?
We would, but there's still 80 reservations for the top of the hour, and they still think that when they hop off the plane, they're getting it.
Yeah. If there was no more cars, but I had a reservation, I would think you only have the reserved cars left.
I'm sure you have the vocabulary to make a sign that explains that.
These people are not wanting to read.
Yeah, but if you could just peel off 20% of them, you know?
I think I'd still need to hear it. I think I'd still be like, well, wait, I have a reservation. Because I know how reservations were supposed to work.
Yeah.
I make a sign. All reservations are null and void. We are out of cars. Zero with the word zero. Cars.
Now, are you out of cars or are you out of clean cars? What if I have low standards?
So usually the way it works is like those late night ones, there's no car preps there. And so you're literally out. But how it is sometimes, if it's like 5 p.m. and someone shows up and they have a reservation, it's like, I need a minivan. I have to like phone over to the car preps, who are the most degenerate group of no good nicks on earth. You leave anything in your rental car, that shit's getting stolen by one of the ex-cons that work in the car cleaning. I would get asked twice
I knew that.
a day.
They were gifts all along.
Twice a day, I would have to go down there with those animals and be like, did you guys find an iPad? And they'd be like, nope. I'm like, smile at me. And I'd be like, you motherfuckers, can you please give me the iPad? And they're like, what iPad? And I'm like, I don't get paid enough to deal with this. So I just go back and say, I don't have that. We just had, if somebody lost a Garmin or something, we just had a bucket of them. Someone could have walked up and been like, hey, I lost 100 Garmins. I'd be like, just fucking just take them. I don't give a shit.
And Garmin, the GPS? Like, weren't those?
GPS or something like that.
Okay.
This was like 7 years ago. And so people were still using some of those.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm trying to think of other shit that was just the fucking worst. Oh, we had, I had a guy, I got in like a 30-minute argument with a guy that he was smoking in the car. And he was saying that there's no evidence of that. I know my rights. There's no evidence that I was smoking in this car. And so I did what they teach you to do, which is like open up the back rear front door, look at the bottom. There's a pile of ash there. That's how you know they smoked. Didn't have to do that though, because there were dozens of cigarette burns in the seat, in the upholstery. Wow. It was a Kia Soul, and it looked like it had been to Vietnam and back.
He put out his cigarettes on the upholstery
dozens of times. Just speckled shotgun looking thing.
There was no evidence.
I have it. I'll have to send you guys the picture. I guarantee if I go back to like 2013, I have that shit on my phone because you'd find weird shit in people's cars. You'd find dildos, sex toys. We found a costume once where
those
you
are
can dress
gifts for the cleaners, Taylor, and I'm surprised you're less appreciative.
One guy we found, he called back to ask. I'll send this too. It's a giant costume that you wear over your whole body, and it has an S on it, and it makes you look like a sperm. Costume. And so this guy had to call at one point, and he was like, yeah, I left a costume in the back of the car. And I was like, what kind of costume, man? He's like, it's a sperm costume.
You know the costume, Taylor.
I know. I'll send you that picture too. At the time, I just wanted to hear him say it. I had the sperm costume in the office. It was making me laugh so hard. And yeah,
I'm actually wearing it right now. This thing's pretty kick-ass.
Pretty cool. No, I didn't put it on. It smelled weird. And yeah, the only place in the air, probably it was a little bleachy. But the only place worse in the airport that I worked was at an insurance replacement branch. So you know how most times if you're renting a car out of town, you pop by a Hertz, Enterprise, whatever, you go in, just a normal, what used to be a bank usually. And it's like, hey, give me whatever the hell. And they go, here you go. And they take it. An insurance replacement branch is when you get in an accident and it's at a body shop and they need to drive their shitty car, have it towed there, and then they get a horrible replacement car from you. And none of these people know, for the most part, that their insurance doesn't pay for rental cars. You have to opt into that in a lot of situations. And so they'll show up furious, like not even the chance to put them in a good mood. So you're like sitting there in the middle of a warehouse like, how's it going, Mr. Jefferson? And he's like, well, I totaled my new car. How's your day going? And it's like, well, I regret to inform you, your insurance will not be covering the rental. How do you prefer to pay? It's like, oh, no, I'm not fucking paying. I'm not. You call my insurance. And then they yell at you. They scream at you. They call you incompetent. They say, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking loser. Like they're mean as shit once they're in their zone of being pissed. One guy, it was in a bay, was so, I guess, not paying attention that there's a car in the front of the bay talking to the insurance person. At the entrance to the bay is where the rental place is, where they get you set up. There was a car pulled up to the insurance thing. Thank God no one was standing in the way. This guy must have came into the bay going 22 miles an hour, and he just slams into the back of this other car that's already there for repairs. And there's just fucking glass and shit all over the place. And then he gets out and yells at the lady who had that car there as if she was wrong. And he's like, these people are degenerates. They are the fucking worst a lot of the time. And then other times you'll come across the sweetest people in the world. My first day on that job, where I was working there, they tell me, Taylor, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, how to write contracts yet. Go pick up this lady. She's at this apartment complex. You don't know where it is. And so I had to look it up on my phone. I get over there, and there's like, I don't know what the hell was going on, but there were like a bunch of cars on the curb with people in it. And so I pull up my car there, and I don't know where to go because it's an apartment complex where just like stairs come down, and I just wait. I didn't know what to do. I didn't ever number anything. I just wait. And then I'm playing on my phone, and I'm startled because the door, my rear side passenger door opens, and this woman just starts going, oh, thank God you're here. My goodness. I got to strap my kid in the back. Do you mind I do that real quick? She starts strapping her kid in. I haven't said anything at this time. She gets the kid strapped in, and she goes, I left my wallet in there. Give me 1 second. Closes the door. I didn't say anything. I haven't said anything so far. I'm now in the car alone with, I think,
in possession of her child.
The 4 to 5 year old child alone. And like, that is the worst parenting I've ever seen, because I was not the only guy sitting there. There were 5 or 6 people sitting on that curb in a car. I don't know why. But for all she knew, she walked up to a random car, buckled her kid in, and left, because I gave no affirmative acknowledgement of it. It was my first time. I was a little nervous. And so that was weird. Yeah, that job fucking sucked. I got to think of funnier stories for it. Right now, I'm just kind of ranting about how much I remember. That job sucked. I was desperate for money. I was just out of college. I didn't have hardly anything. Like I needed a fucking job, and they were the first one that called me back, went in, interviewed, got it done. And I was like, that's what I got to do now. I got to make money.
Yeah. Rental car companies hire a lot of people fresh out of college, every major.
And they all leave within 2 years.
Yep.
The turnover time in those companies is the worst, because you get paid shit and they work you. They tell you when you're getting the job, so you're prepared to work 48, 50 hours a week. And you're like, yeah, that doesn't sound hard. I don't think I worked 50 hours a week in the entire 2 years I was there. It was like always 60, 70, so much time. And you've never felt like as much of a fucking goober as when you show up to your new job wearing nice clothes, and the first thing they tell you to do, nice ass new patent leather shoes, and the first thing they tell you to do is to go wash a car in a bay with an indented part that goes to a drain. And so day one, you've got soap that's ruined your shoes in the bottom of your pants. And you're sitting there in the heat of the summer, scrubbing a Honda Odyssey in the middle of a damp bay in a suit like an asshole.
I would quit. I would quit on day one.
I didn't have enough money to quit. I had to work.
I'd tell her, I'm wearing a suit. Can I go get some khakis and a polo, or is there a uniform here?
That wasn't
there a uniform, like khakis and a polo?
No, it was dress pants, khakis, and then a long sleeve white or light blue shirt and a tie.
See, this is why I use Avis. Y'all are too stuck up over there.
You're preaching to the choir.
Don't
Davis. The best one is use National, because National, you sign up for their Emerald Club, and then you don't have to talk to a single motherfucker at the airport. You
I
go
like
out,
to talk. I negotiate.
you scan it. You're not going to negotiate with one of these companies that well.
I've done it many times. I always get a free upgrade.
Free upgrade. Those are, what they do is they add.
From a mid-size to a full-size SUV.
You know what was the worst is when someone would come in and it'd be like, I rented an economy Toyota Corolla. And it'd be like, ma'am, I've got such a treat for you. A brand new
Camry.
Ford F-250. Hold the phone, ma'am. Hold the phone. This is a free upgrade for you. A free upgrade into and every time. The reason I'm doing it is because that's the only car on the lot, and I'm trying.
Of course.
And then she'll be like, that's a little too much car, and I'm just driving to Provo to see my nephew and the gas mileage on that. And I'm like, ma'am, have you ever heard of Sirius XM? Because this comes with Sirius XM stuff. This woman is 5'0" and elderly. I'm trying to just grind her into a fucking never
You're
worked.
exaggerating, not really a 250.
It was a 150.
Still, yeah,
And
okay.
we had a game at the airport. So like my manager, very nice guy, but horrible at handling like conflict with customers. He was too nice. He wasn't good at putting his foot down ever, and would end up just giving them the farm if they asked for it. And so after a while, there was one time where people were asking for a manager in a hectic situation, and I was just like, yeah, that's me. Just lied and then handled it okay. And so from then on at the airport, like when there was a really horrible customer, they would call an audible called Pretend Manager. And I was Pretend Manager. And so like I would get calls and I was doing fleet management stuff, and it'd be like, hey, what's up? And he'd be like, fleet manager was like being outside, like organizing what cars go where. It's like after you graduate from finishing the ticket writing, or at least it was at this branch. And he would call out to the booth and be like, hey, Taylor, we got a really rowdy one here on line 2. Can you pretend manager for us? I'd be like, and I loved Pretend Manager. It was so much fun to be Pretend Manager.
I like to think you did accents for no reason.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah, and it would just be shit like answering the phone. Taylor, manager of the airport. And they'd be like, I was just talking to someone and they are not refunding the $40 that you owe me. And then I would just like make up managerial protocols a lot of the time. Where I'd be like, we have something called the T2 form. You're going to want to dial him back. Make sure you get that. That's called a lost item form. Now you're going to transition that from me to the actual airport security. They know exactly where to file. A lot of this was just buying time for the manager to figure out what it was. So you're going to call them, ask about that, and then you ring us back and make sure you have and then just list off a couple, your insurance card number, your just stuff to slow them down, to make it so we can actually find what they lost or get what they need. And I would just send these people on goose chases. And just absolute goose chases to find all these things. And then usually by the time they got back, it'd be like, oh, you don't need any of that. It's all sorted. It's all. And then other ones, the most fun one of those, there was this like really effeminate, short, fat guy who he came in right into the front and he said, I reserved a Chevy Tahoe and I don't see a Chevy Tahoe. I just walked your lot. He was giving me that head shake and that condescending. I just walked your lot. I reserved a Chevy Tahoe and it is not there. Do I need to go to a competitor? Do I need to call my friend who is a lot higher up here in you at this company? Do I need to do that? Do I need to do it? And I remember doing Pretend Manager and I was like, sir, you're acting erratic. Have you been drinking? There are other people in line. He's like, the fact you would even ask that says more than enough. I'm definitely ringing him. I'm ringing him. I'm like, sir, as far as we are as a company, I'm sure you know a lot of people who are high up here, and I respect that. You've just come in here in a way that I no longer feel secure renting our property to you. I apologize for the inconvenience. If you'd like, I could call you a cab and get you where you need to be. It's just our property and yourself, sir, for your own safety. I don't know if we feel it's the best idea that we give you a vehicle at this time. And like keep it way tamped down so that the comparison between us is extreme, that anyone around is observing that I am the one who's right. And so, oh man, if I could go back there for
Such
a day,
piece of shit. I hate you.
all I would do is be Pretend Manager.
I just came here to get my Tahoe and it's not here. Sir, are you on any drugs right now? Because you're acting very erratically. And is that a blade you have?
Instead of blade, he's got a knife. He's got a screaming at an airport.
I don't know about
Literally,
it, but I feel like
he
I
was-
smell alcohol and pot on him.
I think I smell. Is that plastic explosive? Do you have
Prove I don't
plastic
smell it.
explosives?
Let me tell you why, though, he was freaking out about the Tahoe. Because I told him, you only reserved a class of car. You didn't reserve a Tahoe. We're giving you a Suburban or whatever the equivalent
Wow.
was. And he would not take it. He refused. He thought I was lying about going out there. And so he went and walked the lot, which took him fucking idiot, way too long to walk the entire fucking airport lot and then come back and get mad. And so it was definitely his fucking fault. He could have just taken the Suburban and left instead of screaming at me in front of.
You should have leaned in close and whispered that to him. You could be leaving with a Suburban. So I'm going to humiliate you in front of all of these people.
Yeah. And I still remember the person who came, and what ended up happening in the end, it was all fine. He ended up calming down, and then actual manager, who I said was the branch, the higher manager,
This is Mr. Hertz himself.
and then, hey, suddenly when you tell someone you're not getting a car, suddenly the Suburban seems like a great idea, doesn't it? And he was more than happy to take that Suburban by the time it was done. And literally the next lady in line, or it was maybe a couple after, because there were dozens of people in line as we're having this bout of frustration, were like telling me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
We're such fucking sheep.
Yeah, don't be sorry. I was actually fucking with him. That went perfectly from my perspective.
Oh, I didn't smell anything. To be honest, I have a Suburban, a Tahoe. I got all kind of shit back there. I just have a little
The
fun.
secret is I did smell whiskey, but that was me.
Yes. I mean, I'm drunk as shit, and I'm high.
I'm fucking way. I smelled my own burp, I think. Just fucking
To be honest, I crashed the Tahoe last night, and that's why it's not available.
I'm going to the funny ones, but for every one of the funny pretend managers, genuinely, there were 20 times that I handled an actual problem way fucking better than my managers, just because I wouldn't get all sheepish or I wouldn't get all like flustered and yell like a couple of them would. So
what's wrong with
yeah,
sheepish though? Like, I know when I had people do customer support at Woodycraft, I had to get people off of that job or even fire a couple because they try to win at customer service. And it's like, no, winning at customer service is when the customer walks away happy. That's how this is done.
Yes.
You know, if you battle this guy in some sort of argument and you clearly come out on top, great. That doesn't help Woodycraft at all. That sucks.
Yeah. See, the thing was, like, at least in this business, it was like, if you're too sheepish, like some sales or managers people were, like, you would get bullied into renting a car like a Tahoe for $19 a day. And then it's like, we're hemorrhaging money on this. Like, people are getting mad. And so that's like the level of sheepish I'm talking about, is managers letting themselves get absolutely stomped on.
But who cares about the bottom line?
I don't care. I just don't want to get yelled at by the area manager who would come. This fucking weirdo who worked there, the area manager. I remember he was so strict. You had to shave every day. And you
I
couldn't
remember that.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember there was one, me and my buddy, we worked at the insurance replacement branch at this point, and it was the redheaded stepchild of the entire area. He never came to our branch because it was a shithole. There weren't enough chairs for all the employees. We had to stand most of the time. We got so bored in the middle of that warehouse.
Chair.
I'm saying we got so bored in the middle of this warehouse, you know, those bays, that I ordered off Amazon a cheap hockey net and some sticks, and we would just play hockey in there sometimes when it was slow. But this guy, me and my buddy Sean, who worked there, both of us were low little underlings, and we had made it 3 weeks without shaving. It was a game for us to like play, you know, chicken and see how long we could go. And so like I'm for weeks now, no fucking tie, sleeves all up, beard, don't fucking care. And then there was one time where I wasn't paying attention, and I was just sitting like doing something on the computer, and then the area manager comes in. He goes, "Well, hey, Taylor," and I was like, "Hello." Full beard, sleeves up, shirt's dirty, no tie.
I'm not Taylor. This is a disguise.
Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I was doing callbacks for overdue cars. And he's like, yeah, are you? And I was like, yeah. He's like, haven't shaved in a while, have you? And this guy was such a passive aggressive fuck. he would never actually call you out. He would just make little office space like, right, we're going to need you to shave that by Monday. If you could do that, that'd be great. And so then I figured, this bitch is never going to get onto me for anything. And so I could just do whatever I want as far as not shaving and rolling up my sleeves and not wearing a tie. And so that's what I did. So it all panned out. Other than that, I was a great employee.
That's a long list of that's.
Yeah, you've been going for 35 minutes. This was a deposition.
Pretend manager was a good bit, and I'm never backing down from pretend manager. And it was mostly helpful.
I think helpful for you passing the time, but as far as fuck.
Okay. When you worked your 60-hour plus a week, how many hours did you work?
I never really counted like the driving time as working that much because that was so easy. But other than that, like you're fucking standing, typing tickets and doing back end stuff the entire time. You're doing shit, and then like managers pass stuff off, and so they'll be like, "Hey, we got a." And then sometimes, it was fun when you got to do this. They'd be like, "All right, we got a red minivan." I had to do this a couple times. There was this dirt poor trailer park in rural Idaho, and they were like, "All right, well, it's been 4 weeks since we've seen this Chevy. Who wants to go out and take a look? Who wants to go drive the trailer park and ask around, see if they know where it is?" And I would always be like, "Yes, this is so cool. I want to do that." And so I'd drive around in a trailer park, and like if anyone was standing, I'd be like, "Hey, have you seen a red, really new looking van recently?" And like it was like sleuthing. I never actually found any, but it was fun.
I didn't expect it to be such hard work. My impression was that planes roll in, you sprint for 15 minutes, and then wait an hour. But I guess not.
It was like they would have you so short staffed. It'd be like, "All right, planes coming in. You're going to be busy for 40 minutes writing those, and then as soon as you're done, you bust your ass down to the wash bay and you start washing cars." And so I've washed, even wearing your suit, I washed thousands of cars.
I didn't know the people at the registers wash cars when I wasn't
such
there.
Bullshit.
Yeah, forced to wash the cars because the car preps down there don't give a shit. They never see the customer, and so like they'll do a half-ass job, and then
they
like
weren't
you'll
caring like you were.
I didn't want to get yelled at by the customers and stuff, and I did. To be fair, every branch I worked at, their like score of customer satisfaction, the time I joined to the time I ended went up significantly. So I did fucking help, and I did work hard at those jobs. I really did, because I would have you've been in that situation where you feel like enough people aren't busting their ass that it motivates you to bust ass, where it's like, what am I, like one of these people? Like one of these lazy fuckers? No, I'm at work. I'm going to fucking work. And so, but those days would come and go. Some days you get berated by enough people at 11 a.m. You're like, I'm just going to go lose myself at the Mexican bistro upstairs for a while and hope nobody asks for me.
It takes me 35 minutes to poop. Nothing I can do about it. I'll be back.
Oh, I'd just go out in the parking lot and fall asleep in a Suburban for an hour or so.
There was a guy that got fired because he did it every day for like a month.
I did it a lot. You know, I had a hard time getting my sleep in at night. We were always partying. We'd be up until 3 a.m. and then have to be at the work at like 9 or I don't know, maybe 8:30. So around 11 a.m., I just go out in the lot and find something comfy to get in and take a little nap.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't get away with doing nothing because they would keep like a tally of how many tickets or contracts you'd written that month. But I even convinced my manager at one point. He's like, "Taylor, your sales are terrible. Are you even asking to sell insurance anymore?" And I told him, this is the one who asked me to do pretend manager all the time. I was like, "No, I'm not asking anymore." And he's like, "You have to at least ask, man." And I was like, "Let me put it to you this way. Our customer satisfaction has skyrocketed. Why? Because we're moving so much faster out of here. So you got 4 people working tickets trying to sell, and they're writing 200 to 400 tickets a month. Then you got me banging them the fuck out over here. You got insurance, hell yeah. And I've got the line moving. I'm writing 1,000 a month, just tearing through this shit." And so I didn't think he would buy that, but he did. So I didn't have to try selling anymore after that. But I helped with customer satisfaction. So don't work at a rental car place unless you're just out of college or you luck out, because it sucks. It's no fun.
Yeah, you're better off stealing.
just steal
That's
the rental.
big deal. if you
Yeah,
mess that
I don't know if
stuff
I've
up.
if I've mentioned it on PKA. This happened I had friends in a couple of years below me in high school, and they had a senior prank where my grade, we didn't do shit for a senior prank. Like it was almost like everybody was on the same page where it was like, are we allowed to go? Are we allowed to go? Are we allowed to go? Are we allowed to Yes, we're done. All right, see ya. Boom. And everybody just left. And this class, it wasn't even a lot of them. It was a group of guys. They went into the school at the same time that one fucking Instagram guy's working out, and went into the library and stacked up all of the chairs on top of the tables and knocked a bunch of books down, and then like put all the books in the wrong places and did stuff that was like, and I mean, when you're using the fucking Dewey Decimal System, that takes a while to get those things fixed. And so again, like they like took out some of those cards and like fucked with them, and just were rabble rousers. Like piled up a ton of that. No, that's not what they did. They didn't put the chairs on top of the table. They piled up every single library table and chairs in front of the only entrance to the library, like it was a Walking Dead scenario to try and blockade it. And this old ass librarian came in and that morning, and she was so distraught that she just like collapsed weeping over the state of this library. And it was not at all the tone that the prank was going for. And so instead of it being like, oh, you rapscallions, it was like a and like all the teachers are comforting this lady. And they got in a lot of trouble, and they had to volunteer in the library for like a couple weeks after they graduated, which doesn't seem like you are even allowed to do that, because that's just stealing labor from children, right? Like, or not children technically, but whatever. I thought that was a little bit mean spirited, but most of them were good. Did you guys have
You
any
couldn't predict how she was going to react.
Did what?
As Taylor was laying out what they did, I'm like, that's not even a prank. That's just vandalism. Like it didn't strike me as funny. I wouldn't have predicted that people would be like, good one. Like,
from what what was relayed to me of the group that was there, like 8-9 guys, some of them were more in the pranky mood of like, let's pile all this stuff up and it's going to take forever for him to move the tables back. And other people were in the fuck this bitch, I'm outie, of mode, where they're just like ruining the Dewey Decimal System and hiding books behind other books and that thing. But it wasn't a great library before, so
and messing up the order must have been so shitty. Do you remember?
Checkers is a game that's humiliating to get beaten badly at, because it's like, oh man, this isn't really hard at all. Also, Connect 4. Losing badly at Connect 4. I played with my girlfriend at like one of those giant ones at a bar a couple nights ago, and we were like dropping the big plastic discs in, and she won in 4 moves, and I had to
wait. So you just set up a ramp for her with your 3 moves?
Yeah, I just was like half not paying attention and half just not being that smart and just messing it up. And then I have to be like, actually, I'm just bored by this. Let's go play darts instead of, because you can't admit you're actually dating a retarded person. It's like, losing in 4 moves in Connect 4.
That's that's kind of funny. Like, but I'm thinking about what your 3 moves had to be, right? Like, she put one down, you put the block so she could go above it, and then you put 2 blocks so that she could, do. I'm assuming she won angular, but that's not necessarily true.
I think it was just flat. I think it was just flat, and I'm not going to pump my own tires on that. But yeah, it was tremendously dumb to lose that bad at a game.
I hope there were a lot of spectators on that. It makes it better. Like the whole bar.
We weren't alone in there.
Who's this retard?
That's so nice of her to volunteer.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of impolite of her to take advantage of him like that. The guy's clearly handicapped.
Beating that retarded man at Connect 4.
In 4 moves.
God, look at the size of that guy's head. Wow.
A head that big with nothing inside.
Sorry, look at those enormous candies you buy. It's just a shell.
I wonder if his ears fart.
Yes.
What's the coolest story behind something you own?
Coolest story?
The coolest story.
Okay. I bought a. This is in the past, but when I was 16, I was still. I'm 25. I'm still in the midst of this. My Lord of the Rings obsession. That they made 500 replica Witch King helmets. The Witch King. The Witch King was the Lord of the Nazgul. If you don't know who they are, you know they had.
This side of you haven't seen before, Chili.
I could list some of the Nazgul right now, but they had this. The Witch King had this giant helm that you'll see in the movies
the Witch King of Angmar.
The Witch King of Angmar. Yes.
Oh, okay.
The Witch King of Angmar, and he had this giant helmet, and I bought it, and it was something that I had it bought for me rather, and when you put it on, it was heavy. Like, it was fucking heavy. It was something that only a mighty man could wear while he was fighting. And I went to college, didn't think about it. I just thought, when I go home, my Witch King of Angmar helm will still be on its display case above my bed, because that's where it was. When I slept in my big bed, I had a queen-size bed, and it had a big, like, kind of armoire-style thing around it, and it had a big shelf behind the bed. And I had my Witch King of Angmar head right there. And I was like, all right, I don't need to bring that to college. I don't want to turn off the girls right away. I'll slowly introduce them to my Lord of the Rings obsession.
I can just imagine you like bringing the girl back to your dorm room and be like you put it on and be like, what do you think? She's like, I think I should grab my pepper spray really discreetly right now.
But that was basically it. I had that helmet. I went to college. I came back. I didn't. If it happened before this, I didn't notice it. But I came back that winter break, my freshman year, and I went into my room and I looked up there and I didn't really think of anything of it. I wasn't looking for it, and slept a couple nights before I realized, like, man, like,
where's the
I had something over here. I had a Witch King helmet. Yeah, where the hell is my Witch King of Angmar helmet?
I'm like the Witch King.
And so I went and asked my younger brother and was like, where is my Witch King helmet? You dick. You know where it is, asshole. And he was like, oh, yeah, my friend was playing with that. I don't know where it is. Maybe in your closet. And I was like, maybe in my closet. Okay. So I go back. I checked my closet. I find my Witch King of Angmar, one of 500. This isn't one of those bullshit, like, oh, we'll make a new one, like, and call it one of 500 every 2 months to trick idiots into buying it. This was an actual one of 500, because there are very few people willing to pay $700 for a Witch King helmet. And so I got it. I had it there. I went into that closet, and I was honestly, like, distraught when I saw it sitting there, totally broken, totally ruined. All the spines that came out of it, obviously it's some kind of plaster. Yeah, the big ones are on the head. It's made of some kind of plaster, but inside it's just a metal bar holding that up, holding that little bit of plaster up. And like the 3 inches between the tip and the bottom part of every single helmet spike was broken off. So it was just a metal bar going from the helmet ring up into like a weak little pinnacle at the top. And I was honestly so fucking upset by that I don't think I talked to anyone in my family for a day or two, because I was like, how could you have let this happen? You know that I love Lord of the Rings and that this was my favorite Lord of the Rings possession. Fuck the Gimli axe and all that. This is my Lord of the Rings obsession. And they let it go by the wayside and they ruined it. And oh my God, even thinking about this pisses me off, because I wish I still fucking had this. This is something that could have lasted. It could have lasted. Like, I could have given it to my grandkids and said, hey,
you could put it on right now.
To be autistic in the future, wear this. Like,
do you have it right now? Does it exist in your apartment?
No, it's thrown away years ago, because it was ruined to the point of no repair. Like, there was no way to fix it. It was completely ruined.
Your story beats mine, I think.
There were chin spines, and they were totally broken and bent to the side, like someone dropped it harshly. Not even dropped it, like said, fuck this, and threw it down. But I don't ever know what actually happened to it or who broke it. But goddamn, that witch helmet was dope.
So I've got shit now.
Blast back to like 5th grade. And
yeah,
so 5th grade, you're like 11 years old. It was this teacher's first year teaching. So back when I was, in 5th grade, it was like an adult is an adult is an adult is how you think about it. But looking back, this was like a 22-year-old chick who didn't know what she was doing because she was teaching children. And she gave us way too much leeway to fuck around. And so basically, if you performed well and paid attention in class, you get little prizes like candies and these little eraser men. And everybody started picking the eraser men when they did well and building these armies on their desk. And then people started getting note cards together and taping them in forms into castles on the corners of their desks and putting these men in it. And then we would take rubber bands and paper clips and during class shoot it at other people's castles who they'd built on their desk and try and knock the little gummy men, the racer men off. And eventually, for a while, the city and the civilization we'd constructed in this 5th grade class was okay, because we all had to perform well in order to get the eraser men to use as soldiers. But then Joseph one day brought in a huge bag of these things and was like, guys, forget having to earn these things. I'm giving everybody an extra 10. And I still remember like the moment when she lost it in our class, because it was, like there were maybe 25 of us in the class, 12 boys, 13 girls or so, and all 12 boys and some of the girls had these, what started as like one index card high with a roof had become like taking up a quarter of the desk. Like we had built these things out like Realtor Brothers style or whatever the fuck. We were trying to flip our desks for profit. And we were all shooting, God, this poor lady. We were all shooting these, the paper clips and rubber bands trying to knock each other's men off and poke holes. And someone missed because they were shooting from the back to the front, hit her right in the thigh, and it didn't hurt, but she fucking freaked out on us. Like, do you think this is a military school? Do you think you're training for battle here? This is ridiculous. And she started going around.
What a terrible argument to use.
And tearing off everybody's castles in the top 4. And as she's doing it, it's like stealing a puppy from a child, where she's like going up to Philip's desk and he's like, no, Miss Smithton, I worked so hard on this. No, stop. And she's tearing off, leaving a wake of like upset and crying kids. And I'm just sitting there like, God damn it, she's gonna get my castle too, but I can't cry.
That would have been the perfect moment for the principal to walk in to do her evaluation. It's like he's just raging, tearing shit up on kids' desks while they cry. This is what you get. This is what your bullshit has wrought upon you. Like just throwing shit everywhere.
Remember, from now on, eraser people will be used to erase. All right, well then we're not interested in them anymore.
I've never had to deal with someone who's 6'7" who does that. Thankfully, the only time I had to do it, it was for one of my smaller friends who's probably like 5'8", 5'9" at the absolute most. Very skinny, also small guy. And this was back in, I think it was over some kind of break, our freshman year in college. And we were back in St. Louis, and we went to a buddy of ours, his house. And his house is like, the backyard is like the little patio area, and then a giant hill down, like just grass, just straight down. So it's slick, and it had rained earlier that day. And my skinny buddy never drank. Like he drank, I think, twice in his life up to that point. And we're like, dude, we're going to get you fucked up tonight. We're going to have a great time. And so me and like 5 buddies head out to this party. And we get there, and I was sober driving that night. And so I couldn't have anything to drink. And we get down there. I keep like basically like vicariously drinking through my buddy who doesn't know how to drink. Where all the time I'm just like, hell yeah, dude! Like I can't take the shot, but you take mine, and that kind of shit. And after like shit you not, like 35 minutes at the party, like he is beyond blackout, like not making sense. Like we were playing pool at one point, and he was just like holding the cue, like leaning all over the place, like not even able to play. And so we have to leave pretty fucking early. So I grabbed my buddies that I came there with. It's like I had a Jeep at the time, and so I had myself, 3 buddies, and then the skinny guy. And we're all leaving, and as we're gonna leave, I'm helping my skinny buddy out the door. And he gives me the drunk guy shake of like, get off of me. I can walk myself. Immediately falls down the hill and rolls barrel roll style like 30 yards down there. 30 yards doesn't sound like a lot. It's a lot on wet grass in tennis shoes having to go down there. And so I go down there and I'm like, hey,
That's
you're good, buddy.
range.
You fucking got it. Like I'm giving like the pump up drunk speech where it's like, dude, you feel bad right now. You're going to be fine in an hour. You're going to be, he was not going to be fine in an hour. You'll be fine in an hour. Just come on, stand up. Let's get up there. Let's go. I'll stop and we'll get food on the way home. And he just is like, and so I was like, okay, fuck. And so I picked him up potato sack style and I carried him up there. It took me probably 10, 12 minutes to get up there because I would get up and then I would feel like with both my legs totally still, like the traction give out, and I just would slide back like 5 feet, trying not to fall with this fucker on my shoulder. I eventually get him back up to my car. We could throw everybody in the back, and immediately my other buddy who's sitting next to him in the middle goes, dude, you better not fucking vomit on me. You better not fucking vomit on me. And I'm like, dude, honestly, please don't throw up in my car. He's not nonsensical. Like nonsensical. We get like 2 miles down the road, there's a CVS, and maybe 200 yards before we get to the CVS, I hear a in my back seat, and then like there's a 2-second delay, and my other buddy who was still drunk but not that fucked up goes, oh, fucking gross, dude. Fucking gross. What the fuck is he's screaming at this guy? And then I pull into the CVS so I can get shit to clean it up. And me and the two other most sober guys who wasn't the yeller or the vomiter get up and start going inside. And the guy who got vomited on was so frustrated he pushed the drunk guy into the door, but I was already out of the car. And so I was going to open it up to give him some air. I open up the door and he falls headfirst into the concrete in a CVS parking lot. There's a guy walking in. It's 2 a.m. I don't know what the fuck he was getting. And he just like, rough night. And I was like, you piece of shit. So I went in, spent like $40.
Yeah, like you had to comment on that.
He had he had blood on his head.
Jesus.
Because he hit the concrete so hard. I didn't know he was going to fall out. I thought he was on like the middle of the car, but no, he fell right out. And I don't think he drank again for like a year after that. So we really ruined it. He's never going to be an alcoholic. So there's that.
So,
thank God for small miracles. The point of the story
is that you saved this guy.
Well, it was more the funny
himself.
The funny journey. If anything, I harmed him by trying to get him to drink too much at the party. I was trying to get him to have a really, really fun time because he was a buddy of mine from high school, had to move away in like freshman year and live in this tiny little town because his dad was a pastor. And so like when he finally was back and we were all hanging out, it was like, fuck yeah, let's get shithoused.
I was this has nothing to do with anything, but it made me laugh really hard. And
it's got to do with something, I bet.
Well, nothing to do with what we're fucking talking about. But I was talking to my buddy who lives with another friend of mine. Oh. No, a different buddy. I have more than
Kyle.
2 friends. Yeah. Both of my buddies. I was talking to him. He lives in an apartment closer to the city, and both my friends live there together. And it was last winter, and I don't know why he didn't tell us this so recently because it was good. And he was like, yeah, there's this 80, so old that you can't peg a number. It could be 95. Could be 96. Who knows? But they said she was annoying as fuck, and she was always telling him to turn stuff down, even when it was like these guys are not boisterous. They're keeping it courteous. And he was headed to work one day, and there was snow on the ground, and he saw her trying to walk to her car, and she's struggling, starting to slip. And so he's like, "Ma'am, Marie or Gretchen, some old ass bitch name or something." He walks over. Here, give me your hand. I'll walk you to the car. So he's walking her to the car. She's so frail. He says her skin feels like paper, like he could just pull and rip it. And he gets her to the car, and he puts her hand on the door of the car. And he's like, wait here. I'm going to run back. I'm going to get the scraper thing, and I'm going to get this scraped off, and I'm going to help you in. And she's like, oh, thank you so much for helping me with this. And he said he got 4 steps away before he heard just a slip and a comedic style, like Larry Moe and Curly style, whoop, just straight up and bam, right on the ice.
That'd be tough on a healthy person.
Yeah, I know, and she's not healthy. And he turned around, and she goes, "Oh, help me!" Oh, and he said he walked over. He's not good with blood. He said her leg had a compound fracture. There was a bone sticking out of her leg. And he said, I immediately started going, and he goes, and so she asked me, she looked at me and she goes, Matt, is it bad? Is it bad, man? And he's like, and I'm trying not to vomit. I'm about to pass out, and there is so much blood soaking into the snow. I just go, no, Marie, no, no, Marie, no, Marie, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm going to call the hospital. I'm going to call the hospital. So he called the hospital. I was trying to describe it, and he says, it's like, you know, when it's cold out and the air is cold and it feels like sound just resonates a bit more, that you could just hear bouncing between the apartment buildings, her wailing and her just over and over. He stressed how many times she asked, Matt, is it bad? Oh. Is it bad? She's got a bone sticking out of her fucking leg. And he's like retching the entire time up until they get there.
And lying to her also.
Yeah, and lying to her, which is the right thing to do. And he was like, he told me, he's like, I was scared to death. I was watching this lady bleed out, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to put pressure on it because her bone is sticking through. I don't know what the fuck to do. Ends up, she did not die. She's going to at some point. That's kind of the writing on the wall.
Wait, you mean according to this, she's gonna die
this
eventually?
Is just, so my mother-in-law stayed with us and broke her hip, and like when that kind of thing happens and your mobility's gone, like this is the start of a rapid downhill for her. Carry on.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's it. It was just I was busting a gut laughing, imagining him standing there in the snow with blood everywhere, a woman with a compound fracture, him going and her screaming, "Is it bad? Is it bad?"
It is like, it seems like it's right out of like a slapstick comedy.
I know, it's so
especially because you added that sound effect of her following like that. Whoop.
That's what really clenched it right there. The sound effects.
Yeah, it made
that's
it
why
Leslie
Police Academy
Nielsen
was so
movie.
good.
Your buddy's Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, he is. Oh, that guy died a while ago.
Yeah,
damn shame. He was hilarious.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody have your own story of elderly people getting grievously injured in a funny way?
Wasn't funny at all, Taylor.
Well, he made it a little funny for us. He
the
did.
Listeners and the subreddit decide.
Let the subreddit decide is a terrible sentence in regards to anything. Forever.
That's true. Letting Reddit decide anything is a terrible mistake.
Yeah.